You're listening to the Empire Network.
Good evening. It is Thursday, January 14th, and we have one hell of a show for you guys tonight. This is the Star Wars Wastelands podcast, live right here on the Empire Network. We are actually recording live, though, on channel 1138, and it's a Wednesday night for those listening to us live. Apologies, we will get that down eventually. What a show we have for you guys tonight. Can't wait to get to all the topics and the news and the rumors and the debates. The he said, the she said, we want this guy back even though we outed him and still out him every other day for fun. It's going to be one hell of a show. I just want to start off by saying thank you to each and every one of you for making last week's episode of the Star Wars Wastelands podcast the most successful episode in history of the show by almost a full 100%. No, they're not exaggerated numbers. By the time Thursday has come around, you're looking at almost 300 views on YouTube. Our goal, we'd like to end up, with 1,000 views in a week for our episodes, and we'll get there. But we also had 20 some odd live in-chat listens last week on channel 1138. Also, if you'd like to subscribe to our channel, the Empire Network, we strongly encourage you to do that because there's some other shows we'll tell you about a little later on that you might want to tune into. Without further ado, though, it's time for the first order of business. Now, what we do during this segment is I introduce Thing 1 and Thing 2, and when he's here, Thing 3, to the show. We also go over what's to come on the show and do our countdowns. Yes, countdowns, the return of the top 3 tonight. It has been gone for a while. But without further ado, it's the ice cream eating, pancake guzzling, chocolate milk loving, 32-ounce iced coffee drinking Mondo. How's it going, bud?
It's going pretty good. I don't know many people that guzzle pancakes.
I could totally see you blending it up into a drink with some maple syrup and just downing that.
Speaking of ice cream, though, I'm actually waiting for Hallie to get back. She actually ran up to get us some sundaes. So,
wait, who?
You weren't, Alicia, you weren't too far off.
Oh, I thought you said Hallie. I was going to say, when did you get with Halle Berry, and what does Alicia think of this?
She doesn't know.
Well, I guess what she doesn't know doesn't hurt.
Doesn't hurt me either.
Unless she does know, in which case you're dead man.
Yeah, or she listens to this show and then you're dead.
Like last time, when you got caught with the Christmas presents. But that's a story for another time. And that other voice you heard is none other than Jar Jar Binks' lapdog McMahon. How's it going?
I quit. I quit. I quit. I'm done. Nah, I'm walking out. Mic drop, I'm out.
Oh, man. Seriously, how's it going, bud?
Well, it was going good until you called me Jar Jar's lapdog. Now I don't know how I feel about the day.
The die is here. That was a terrible Sean Connery impression, just saying.
Oh, you were trying to do Sean Connery? I thought you were doing SNL, because you're not far off from that, but Sean Connery, you are not.
And last but not least, it's Mr. Jake the Snake Damon. What? Hang on, what? What's that, George? What do you mean he's not here? How is he not here tonight? It's his second show. Nobody asks for time off on the second show. He's working. Really. Screw work. This is where you need to be. Flaking out already. In all seriousness, though, Jake wanted to be here tonight and he couldn't be here, so we'll pick up the slack. boys, right off the bat, though, have you gotten a chance to take a peek at some of the new wave of Star Wars toys coming out?
I've seen the ones that come across my Facebook page, but I haven't seeked them out yet.
How about you, Mondo?
I have. They look pretty cool and pretty detailed. You know, a couple of them that I've seen, and I'm pretty excited about them, especially the Finn. You know, one of the things that stuck out to me in The Force Awakens was Finn with the blood on his helmet, because, as I've said before, blood's something you don't necessarily see a lot of in Star Wars. And to have that scene was, to me, a step forward for the movie franchise. And I'm excited to get that Black Series figure.
The Finn is a Black Series one?
Yes. There's going to be both a Black Series and a 3.5 or whatever, 3.75 that I've seen.
There's a couple that have caught my eye. Big fan of the Han Solo Black Series 6-inch figure.
Does it have a hole in his chest?
No, he's not Swiss cheese yet. I guess we should have said spoiler alert for that, but I mean, if you haven't seen the movie yet, you're living under a rock.
If you haven't seen the movie yet, I'm going to ask again, what the hell are you doing watching this show?
Exactly. The only thing I don't get is why do you have to give him brown hair? Like, really? I mean, we all know his hair's not brown. You don't need to make the toy look younger.
It's a clause in his contract. All action figures must look like I did 30 years ago.
He looks like he's halfway in that 30 years, the action figure, in my opinion. But the one that stands out to me, though, is the new. I mean, the Rey with the lightsabers, obviously another good one. The Finn Stormtrooper helmet is a good one as well. I wouldn't mind getting a Hux figure, but the one that stood out to me is one that I saw yesterday. McMahon and I spoke about this briefly, I believe. Is the new Kylo Ren 3 3/4-inch figure with the mask off. Looks fantastic. It might be the best looking 3 3/4-inch figure of the whole set. What do you think, Fizz?
It definitely looks pretty darn good. I don't know if I'd go so far as to say it's the best 3 3/4, but it's definitely one of the better ones.
Is it something you envision yourself picking up?
Not imminently. I mean, it's one that if I find it and, I got some spare cash and I got some money burning a hole in my pocket, then sure, I'd pick it up. But it would be an impulse and not a target.
Gotcha. As much as I want it to be an impulse for me, it's probably going to be in that same situation as you were in due to a tight budget going forward now.
Well, that would make it an impulse, because that's what I'm at.
Yeah. So just a preview to our listeners for what you have to look forward to on tonight's show is you have the top 5 tonight, and the top 5 countdown is going to be the top 5 moments of the Millennium Falcon.
Pay close attention to the wording. We don't want to hear anything later.
Yes. We have the return of the personal top 3 countdowns, where we each give our top 3, and that one is your personal top 3 choice for a origin standalone film. So many possibilities there. Now, in order to make that list, it can't be, Obi-Wan on the desert Tatooine does not qualify.
That's not an origin story.
No. And then we'll also get to some news. We have the young Han Solo stuff from Variety. We have some will Lando be in Episode 8? Will Han have a cameo in Rogue One? We have some Star Wars Rebels news. Some big Star Wars Rebels news, actually, so stay tuned for that. We have the Who is Snoke and the Star Wars Blu-ray. Joining us for the Rebels and the Blu-ray news, though, later on in the show, will be none other than the founder of the Star Wars Underworld, Mr. Benjamin Hart. It'll be his first time joining us in this new format. And then we obviously have various other topics, of which 3 will be chosen to speak about, and the rest you'll have to tune into the Future of Star Wars group to pick up on, and then we have fan questions at the end as well. So strap yourselves in. We have one hell of an episode to get to tonight, and let's start off with the top 5 countdown, the top 5 moments of the Millennium Falcon.
All right, we are going to start you off with some honorable mentions. Okay. Honorable mention number 1. The crash on Starkiller Base from Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens.
Epic. Loved that scene. I mean, what more can you say? The look on Han's face as they come out. Poor Finn. Finn's probably thinking this was a terrible idea. These guys are going to kill me.
Indeed. Just an absolutely monumental scene. And next up, as an honorable mention number 2 would be the escape from the Kanji Club. Jumping from the hangar directly into Lightspeed. Again, from Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens.
Tell that to Kanji Club.
He did. And he got away.
I hope we see him again.
I definitely do not want this to be the last we've seen of Kanji Club.
No. Although, I think most of Kanji Club might have bit the dust.
Well,
and actually, indeed,
I
was going to say, it should also be pointed out, he was not a member of Kanji Club.
Interesting.
That's going to take us to number 5, Sage.
Number 5 is actually Mondo, I believe.
I have it as a U.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll go then. Number 5 is the Millennium Falcon. The Millennium Falcon making the Kessel Run in 14 parsecs. Wait, what? No, I'm being told it's 12. 12 parsecs.
Something I've always wanted to see. Specifically to explain the... to officially and canonically get people to stop saying a parsec is a measurement of distance, not time. Okay, yes, we know that, but we don't actually know what the Kessel Run is. You know, just because the title is Kessel Run, it doesn't mean it's specifically a race.
It doesn't. It could be. I mean, it could be a trade route.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Moving on to number 4, Mondo.
Number 4 is when the original owner. Well, I don't know if the original owner of the Falcon, Lando Calrissian, destroys the second Death Star. Kaboom.
Epic. As much as you love the trench run from A New Hope, visually, the trench run from Return of the Jedi, and I'm not a big fan of Return of the Jedi, but visually, that trench run is just mind-blowing.
Very much a phenomenal scene. That's going to bring us to number 3, which is also from Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens. And that is the escape from Jakku while being piloted by Rey. Getting it up in the air, flying it around the graveyard of the giants, into an AT-AT. Just a fantastic piece of flying for someone who's never flown the ship before. Anybody want to add anything to that? Anybody? Number 2, Mondo.
Yeah, apologies. The mute monster got me once again. This is why I don't like doing this on a phone, but we'll have to live with it for a while. The Battle of Jakku is an amazing sequence, all shot digitally. Escape from Jakku. All shot digitally, and they actually used a helicopter to shoot some of the angles. I was watching that today in the visual effects video that you can find on YouTube that they released today. A nice little 10-minute feature of a look behind the scenes. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that sounds really cool, actually. It's really kind of cool to see some of that behind-the-scenes stuff, right? Oh, number 2 on the list here, though. Take it back to the beginnings of Star Wars. Back when Han Solo came and saved the day during the original trench run, when they go to blow up the original Death Star there. Really cool scene. I remember as a kid thinking that Han Solo was gone for the rest of the movie, and BAM! Surprise. He's back.
Han got the best of Vader there.
He did indeed. Not many people can say that.
I'd say Han actually got the best of the TIE fighter pilot, who then screws up and hits Vader. So.
Yeah, well, you say tomato, I say tomato. If he doesn't hit that tie, it doesn't hit Vader, so he beat Vader ipso facto.
Well, and then Vader dumps him into carbonite. So I mean, I don't know.
Tell that to Conja Club.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay, you know what? We had the swear jar before we moved to the Empire Network. Now we're gonna have the Tell That to Conja Club jar. Okay, every time
that jar is gonna get quite full.
That jar is gonna get quite full, but you know.
Hey, you tell that to Kanji Club, you Kanji bitch.
Oh man!
Wow, Mono, you just dipped into both.
Good God. We will. Pardon me, John in the chat. If you wait till the question part of the show, we have no problem talking Knights of the Old Republic. You won't find Mondo's a little bit into it, but you won't find two guys more than McMahon and I that would love to dive into that topic. Unfortunately, we have other stuff scheduled at the moment.
Number one, included.
Yes, and number one would be the Millennium Falcon flying with Han Solo piloting in Empire Strikes Back into the asteroid field. Just an incredible sequence, ballsy move for a guy that doesn't believe he has any force powers, and I'm sure, that's a whole other topic.
Really believe in the force?
Yeah, goes in there, balls to the wall, and more or less says to the Empire, "You want me? Come get me." And that sequence is just phenomenal. The TIE fighter pilot's probably just like, he's not really doing this. How could he? Somebody call Kansas Club.
Well, I will say this. This has just come across my Facebook feed. We talked about the VFX video that was up on YouTube today. Apparently that's already been removed.
Really?
Yes. According to our good guy Ben, it was already removed from the ways, but
wow.
Yeah. My guess is that was removed.
I'm sure somebody will have it again through the power of everything else. But
that seems like a.
Once it's out there, it's out there. There's no taking it back.
It's like a Blu-ray thing to me.
I think it is a Blu-ray thing, and if that was just one little thing we're going to see from the Blu-ray, I mean, we'll talk about the Blu-ray later in the show. But number one, the Falcon into the asteroid field. One hell of a sequence it was indeed. This is going to now, just to recount, the honorable mentions were what, Fizz?
We had honorable mentions, Crash on Starkiller Base, and The Escape from Conja Club. Number 5 was the Kessel Run. Number 4 was Lando piloting the destruction of Death Star 2, The Escape from Jakku, Han's epic return in the first Death Star, and the asteroid field.
I think that's a pretty good list. I mean, there's some great moments we left out, but it's only a list of 5. What can you do? Now, we're really happy to be bringing this next countdown back to the show. And it seemed like a good place to start with all the different movie rumors that are going out there. And then people just making up new rumors off the top of their head.
You mean like we're about to do?
No, because these aren't... We haven't heard... I mean, we might have heard rumors on some of these. This is strictly the...
Yeah, but somebody's going to report it as fact, and we're going to be like, yeah, credited source. Just made that out.
The top 3 choices, your personal top 3 choices for a origin standalone film in the Star Wars universe. And Mondo, you're first up.
All right, so I'm going to throw it to the prequels a little bit here. Don't get too mad at me. But I feel like we didn't see enough of Darth Maul. And I think a true Darth Maul origin would be incredible. There may have been some in the EU, I'm not entirely sure, but an actual canonized version of that, I don't know, it'd just be really awesome. They had talked about having a Darth Maul Origins game for a while, topic for a different night, but I just think that'd be a lot of fun to see. My second one, again, prequel, a Qui-Gon Jinn origin. I think that'd be really awesome. I was reading something not that long ago where there was a pretty big connection between Qui-Gon and Mace Windu, and if you guys know me, Mace Windu's my homie, so that'd be cool. And the third one, you know, I'm gonna be up there with Sean on this one. I think an Obi-Wan film would just be incredible.
Now, because this is an origin film, this would be Obi-Wan first becoming Qui-Gon's apprentice,
yes.
Correct?
Yes, this would be, and actually, what made me think about this is I was reading some stuff on a Facebook group I'm a part of, and I'm guessing it's EU. I don't believe this would be canon. I could be wrong, but there was some sort of history between Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, and Mace Windu. Like, all three of them had something to do with Obi-Wan's training. So, I don't know. I just think that'd be a really cool thing to see. So, in a way, all three of my origin films are prequel-based.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. I will say about the Darth Maul one, though. I don't think you could bring Ray Park back. Not to be the star of the film. Excellent swordsman, but sorry, there's not much acting ability there. Yeah, I mean, you could potentially turn to Sam Witwer. I mean, with the makeup, you probably make him look nearly identical to Ray Park's Maul. And Sam Witwer actually has quite a bit of acting ability, so I would look at something like that.
You would cast Sam Witwer as an Ewok.
Well, Sam Witwer is the voice of Darth Maul on the Clone Wars.
I know that, but I'm just pointing to it as a fact. You would cast Sam Witwer as an Ewok.
I would never bestow such a diss to Sam Witwer as making him one of those Care Bears on steroids. Fizz, you're up.
All right, well, I'm going to start with, what's that, a prequel? Oh, man, McMahon's going prequel. Who would have thunk it? Count Dooku.
Oh, I got to pick my feet off the floor because hell just froze over.
I want to see the fall of Count Dooku. I know that'd be tough now with unfortunately, his portrayer no longer with us, but, you can find somebody who can pull off the young Count Dooku. I want to see him fall, which ties into a Qui-Gon story as well, so wrap them up together.
Okay, and number 2?
Number 2, Darth Plagueis. Since it seems like the Snokas Plagueis thing is kind of taken a back seat a little bit, I still want to know that story. I want to know about Darth Plagueis, where he came from, his story. It sounded kind of interesting, even with, with Palpatine telling the story of his death. I want to see the story. I want to see it actually unfold.
And number 1.
And number 1. Whew. This one is a tough one for me. Because I want to go Old Republic, I really do. But we already know that. There's really no origin story to tell there that we don't.
No, I mean, that's not true, though, because it hasn't necessarily... I mean, some people consider it legend, some people don't. And there hasn't really been made clear yet, because...
It's periphery canon.
Yeah.
But I'm going to not go there because it's too obvious, Yeah, I want that. I want that very badly. That's like one... It's 1,000 times even above this list. But for me... Chewie.
A Chewie movie.
I do. I want to see a Wookiee movie.
That's interesting.
I'm hoping there's humans in it.
Well, of course there's humans in it. I predict it to be something like, I don't want to go Old Republic, but something similar to the Zerka storyline in Knights of the Old Republic.
Gotcha.
where they're enslaving Wookiees and a Wookiee uprising, something to that effect. Even if it's not a Chewie story, I just want a Wookiee-type origin story.
Could you imagine if there was a Wookiee movie with nothing but subtitles?
Would that be nominated for a Best Foreign Film Oscar? Because that's a category Star Wars has never been nominated for. Maybe that's something to think about.
All right, and my list, coming at number 3, is a Darth Bane origin story. Bane is canon. He pops up in the Clone Wars. So let's, visually see his story, even if it's very similar to the books. Darth Bane, The Rule of Two. I want to see it, and I think a lot of other people want to see it. Fizz, you're a Bane guy. What do you think?
I would love that story, and I'll admit I very much forgot the canonization at the end of the Clone Wars, or that probably would have been on my list. But I'm okay with it not being there. But I
tell that to
it.
Conja Club.
You are going to have to put like a $100 bill in that jar at the end of the show, aren't you?
You made your list. No changing it.
I'm not changing it. I'm saying I would approve. I would very much approve.
Oh, I mean, it makes sense. Who you would get to play Bane would be might be the hard part, because that'd be one hell of a role to step in, and it'd need to be somebody with big time on screen presence.
Yeah.
I'm not saying Tom Cruise is Darth Bane. Definitely not.
That's the wrong kind of stature.
Number 2 for me is none other than a Kylo Ren origin story. Let's see young Kylo training under Luke, and let's see how this fall takes place. Not read about it. Let's see it. I think that'd be really cool. The Bane trilogy itself is not canon. That is correct, but the character is canon. He appears in Clone Wars. So it'll be interesting to see if they ever do anything about that. And number 1, I want a Darth Vader origin story. Not an Anakin Skywalker origin story. We have that already. A Darth Vader. Give us Vader in the weeks after. His first few weeks in the body. Him hunting down the Jedi. Very similar to, I believe it's the Rise of Darth Vader book. I could have the title wrong. Fantastic book. Bail Organa appears in it. You could do some wonderful things with that book, because at that point, Vader, in that book's now Legends, but, I mean, he hates his body. He can't stand the way that it's constructed. He's so full of anger and rage. He's not necessarily the, in control, gonna kill you with a snap of my fingers Vader. He's very much a loose cannon till towards the end of that book, and I would love to see, I think the fans would love to see a film that focuses on Vader in the weeks after him being burnt leathery bacon.
Doesn't that fall under the we can't have an Obi-Wan between 3 and 4 rule?
No, it does not, because Obi-Wan is Obi-Wan. Even though he takes the name Ben Kenobi, he's Obi-Wan. He's there to help Luke. Darth Vader becomes a whole different entity. Darth Vader is not Anakin Skywalker. The whole point of Darth Vader is, he throws himself into this new persona. No, I don't think it falls under that at all. Now, if you have the whole movie with him with the mask off, whining about Padme or something, then I'd say yeah. But him discovering himself as Darth Vader, which really wasn't done during Revenge of the Sith, would be something incredible.
And, it's funny you bring that up, and I think I've mentioned this before. During all the marketing for The Force Awakens, there was still quite a bit of Darth Vader merchandise that was being sold, and that's still coming out. So I do think there is something there. I actually think there may be something to that. I think we are going to see at some point Darth Vader on screen again.
I think we're going to see it this year.
Yeah. Good point.
I said it. Not having Vader in Rogue One would be a terrible decision. He doesn't have to be the star, and it can't be something as lousy as a radio transmission. But I mean, that's Vader's heyday there. There is no reason to not have him involved in this.
And it's a cheap draw. Let's be honest.
It's like right here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. It's the Star Wars version of the Mick Foley cheap pop.
Yeah, there you go.
I think just saying Star Wars is the Mick Foley cheap pop.
Well, that is everything for the first order of business tonight. Moving on to the next segment. the HoloNet. The HoloNet is where we bring you all the news around the Star Wars universe and the speculation going on. And rumors, too. We should state that there's rumors. And there is possible spoilers in here, so we'll warn you now. If you're, paranoid of spoilers, probably a good time to tune out of the show now. If you're not, stay tuned, strap yourselves in. We're about to make the jump to Lightspeed. Fizz, we have a big first topic. Why don't you take it away, bro?
Well, it came out earlier this week that there was a shortlist for who would get to play young Han Solo in the Hanthology film, as it's being called by everyone, except Disney. That list was narrowed down to a handful of known quantities, as well as apparently at least 4 unknowns. Okay. Now let's break it down all the way through. We'll give you all the names. If they have a notable, well, they don't actually have notable credits to their name in this list. So, but bear with us. If you don't know who it is, IMDb a guy. Okay. For known quantities, you have Miles Teller, Ansel Elgort, Dave...
Hang on, if we can slow up here just for a second.
Okay.
I can... you monster had me again. I can assist you on this. Miles Teller was the star of that terrible new Fantastic Four
through no fault
movie.
of his own, of course. It was going to be terrible no matter who you put in that.
Yeah, if you say so.
You could have put, the best actors in the galaxy in that film.
And who was the second name?
Still would have stunk. Ansel Elgort.
You might have seen him in the movie The Fault in Our Stars.
That was a pretty big movie, wasn't it? I mean, for what it was.
I have no idea. I wish I could elaborate more on that.
For the younger audience and the chick flick audience, it was. Next up, you have Dave Franco.
I mean, there's a name that speaks for itself. The little brother of James. We'll speculate on these names all at once afterwards. Continue.
Jack Rayner.
I just left IMDb. If you give me a second, I can come up with something that Mr. Rayner has played in. To me, he's one of those guys that sort of has the look. You've probably seen him in Transformers: Age of Extinction. Yes. Continuing.
Next up, Scott Eastwood.
Scott Eastwood.
Yes,
you might have heard of his...
Eastwood.
Yes, yeah. You might have heard of his pops, although I'm sitting here struggling to believe that that's his dad and not his grandpa.
I'm thinking the same thing.
You telling me you don't think 1985 Clint Eastwood could pop out a kid?
It's very, very possible. I mean, anybody with the Eastwood bloodline, you picturing him as Han Solo. Good God, that would be amazing. And you might have seen Scott Eastwood in a movie that his dad was in, Gran Torino. He's also been in The Longest Ride. He's in Dawn of Patrol, Fury, Texas Chainsaw 3D. So he's been in some notable films.
All right, next up is Logan Lerman, who you might know as Percy Jackson of the Percy Jackson series of films.
I hate those.
I actually like them.
Not me.
They're okay for what they are. They're not great, but they're decent films.
Next up, you have Emery Cohen. No idea if he's related to the Coens.
Emery Cohen. Let's see. Well, Mr. Cohen has... I have no idea.
He was on the TV show Smash. That's
Smash.
Really
well, there's one.
The only name I know on his list. Next up is Blake Jenner. Not that Jenner. Not that Jenner.
You probably know Blake Jenner from Glee. That's probably the first thing that comes to mind. He's also a appearing in Supergirl. I don't know if he's appeared yet, but he will be appearing, or he's already appeared.
2016, so has yet to appear.
You might know him from Melissa and Joey as well.
Not those Jenners, people. Not those Jenners. You're not gonna run into this guy on Keeping Up with the Kardashians, okay? It's okay.
I'm not gonna lie, you took my idea and then went with Glee to start off with. For a second, I really thought we were on the exact same page.
We're not. No relation. No relation.
Is that the 8th?
That was the 8th.
Okay. Let me just put this out here for everybody. Yes, we heard that last night, actually, when we were recording the Small Screen Temple, which is up on YouTube for those that
have yet to view it.
Yeah, anybody that's into the Daredevil, Arrow, Scandal, Flash, Supernatural, Walking Dead, check it out. It's 38 minutes of glory. But Rogue is right. He is married to Supergirl herself. So let me just point this out. A lot of people have been upset that Anthony Ingruber's name's not on the list. I'm still a firm believer he could be one of the 4 unknowns, because he's not very well known. However, as good as a Han Solo impression that he puts on, and it might be the best on the entire planet, you need to be able to do more than just impersonate. Yes, because this is all one canon, you need to obviously have traits that are very similar and mannerisms to that of Harrison Ford. But you're also going to have to sort of make this character your own, because you're going to play him in the Han Solo spin-off film. There's probably going to be more Star Wars films 10, 15 years from now that take place, in and around the time of the original trilogy, if not just after. It won't be Harrison Ford reprising the role of Han Solo. It would be this guy. So you got to make sure that you're casting somebody that's, you're taking a shot at the dark, because you don't want to recast. Recasting is terrible.
Specifically a character of this magnitude.
But you also can't, and don't take this the wrong way, I'm not discriminating. No, I totally agree with what Rogue from Rogue's HoloNet says in the chat here. You have to do your own version of Han Solo. And that's right for the most part, yet you still have to have that Harrison Ford look in you. You can't, I'm not discriminating. I'm really not. I'm just laying the facts down. You can't have 100-pound soaking wet Han Solo appear on screen. You can't have a 500-pound Han Solo appear on screen. The guy needs to have similarities to Harrison Ford. Some of those names on that list, well, some of them could go through drastic body transformations. That's not unheard of. Are pretty much out. And we should also report that Anthony Bresnikon, who knows his Star Wars and was heavily involved in the Star Wars celebration last year from Entertainment Weekly, has come right out and said, well, some of the stuff on this list is true, some of it could not be more false, and that there is more than 12 names still in consideration. I'm tending to believe Bresnikon. Some of those names just, like Miles Teller, no, I'm sorry, you take one look at him, that is not Han Solo.
See, that's how I am with Franco. I love Dave Franco as an actor, and I've enjoyed everything I've watched him in. But I don't know, he just doesn't. I don't know. I just don't think he fits the. There's just something about his look, and like you said, he can change it. I think he'd have to add a little bit of weight, maybe.
Yes.
Last thing I saw him, and he was a twig.
And that absolutely matters. You can't just pick the best actor. You need someone who is really, really good, but you need someone that's also believable as Han Solo. You're not sending someone out there to do an impersonation of, 4, 5, 6, 7. You're sending out, someone that's going to have some of those traits and some of those mannerisms, because he hasn't developed into that man yet, but you're going to see glimpses of it. But you're going to see almost a whole new side of Han Solo. But he also has to look like Han Solo. Han Solo is not a small dude. Harrison Ford is not a small dude. You know, you're going to see a big, strong-jawed guy, not some baby-faced boy. From what we've been told from various sources, not directly to us, obviously, but and probably the biggest one, Lawrence Kasdan, you know, Han Solo's not going to be 15 or 16. You're looking at, you know, 20 to 23, 24-year-old Han Solo. You're likely not seeing baby-face Han Solo in this film. Probably not happening. Go ahead, Mono.
You know, I know we have to move this along, but you also, on top of all of that, you know, you mentioned the future films, right? And the future possibility of films. So you've also got to cast somebody who you think is going to be available down the line. You know, down the road. I mean, you don't want to have to, in 5 or 6 years, if they decide, hey, let's do, you know, I don't know, let's do something between episode, you know, 6 and 7. Or, you know, 15 years from now, you don't want to have to go back and find somebody else to do it.
I think that's likely. I mean, I totally expect to see films between 6 and 7 down the road with those characters, too. I mean, you recast Han Solo, if you can recast Han Solo, you can recast anybody. That's the way you've gone down. For me, when I look at the list, and I'm not trying to knock anybody and I'm not trying to discriminate, I'm just looking at the way it should be. Han Solo, you know, strong-jawed, fairly tall, has some weight to him, guy. And I was originally with you with the Dave Franco bit. How I just looked at him and like, I've seen Dave Franco and other stuff, I don't see him as Han. But when you compare Dave Franco to, say, Emery Cohen or Logan Lerman and Ansel Elgort and Miles Teller, I'd put Franco in front of all those guys, because the 4 guys that I just mentioned, I would pretty much shit a brick if any of those guys became Han Solo, and not in a good way, because I'm sorry, it's not believable, just not. Han Solo is not going to be some pencil neck, you know, nerd. I'm not saying that that's who they are in real life. I'm not saying that's who they've played. I'm not saying they can't transform their bodies. They certainly can't add 3 or 4 or 5 inches to their height in some cases, which is a big thing. But on that list, the ones that stand out to me are Jack Rayner. I probably wouldn't have him first. I'd probably have him third on the list. Scott Eastwood I'd have second. I look at Scott Eastwood, and as McMahon pointed out last night, he sort of looks like Jensen Ackles from Supernatural, but he has that look. I mean, look at the eyes and the figure. The figure's already there. I mean, he's Clint Eastwood's son as well. You certainly have a quality bloodline there. But the dark horse in this, in my opinion, when I look at this list, I look at Blake Jenner and I go, holy crap, that's a young Han Solo. I've never seen Blake Jenner act, but visually speaking, he looks a lot more like Han than a lot of those guys do. Now, as some of the people in the chat have pointed out, you need to be able to act. If you can't act, it doesn't matter how much you look like him, you're not getting the part. Simple as that. Fizz, you have anything you want to add on this?
Well, to me,
You've been pretty mum.
Acting is more important than the look. To me. Like, there's certain elements, you know, you do need a strong jaw, because Harrison Ford does have a very pronounced jawline. Things like that.
You can't have somebody who's 5'9" go in there and play Han Solo.
Yeah, but you can add lifts.
No,
you
sorry.
You absolutely can, especially with the boots. I mean, Han wears boots. You can absolutely add lifts to boots and not be none the wiser. You know, I mean, if you're casting a guy who's like 5'6", yeah, you're not going to be able to pull that off. But if you're a guy who's 5'8", 5'9", you can, you know, lift that up to 6'3", and you're not going to notice.
You're not going to notice half a foot?
Considering the age difference.
What age difference?
If we're talking an early 20-year-old
You're not growing anymore after your early 20s.
Yeah, you do.
No,
you certainly
sorry.
can. You can grow up until you turn 26, 27, is when everything finally settles in. I've seen people in their early 20s that shoot up an extra couple inches. Like, it's not going to be a pronounced foot. You know, it's not going to be like a foot, 2 feet, but you can grow a couple inches in your 20s.
I'm reading straight off of a medical site. First thing that pops up on Google. You have pretty much stopped growing at the age of 19.
Emphasis on pretty much.
You can't, but half a foot's not happening. I'm sorry.
You're not going to notice half a foot.
I disagree. I think you do. I think you absolutely do. Half a foot is a large margin.
Then you have to assume that... Are you going to stand regular Harrison at that age up against this guy and notice? Like, I don't look at a movie screen and go, hey, that guy's 6'2". That guy's 6'3". No, I don't care about how tall you are. It's about everything around you. If you're a foot shorter than what Harrison would be 10 years later, that's fine.
I disagree completely.
It doesn't...
Just my opinion.
We're not casting Harrison Ford. You know, you can't clone Harrison Ford. If you could, there's your answer. But you can't. You just can't. You rely too heavily on, this guy has to be Harrison Ford.
No, he doesn't have to be Harrison Ford. In fact, he has to be somebody different than Harrison Ford in terms of his acting ability. Because that's not Han Solo, and that's a fact. We're not talking about Harrison Ford. We're talking about Han Solo.
You have a biography of Han Solo that says he was exactly this tall at 20, this tall at 20, this tall at 21, this tall at 20. You don't have that. You can't... You know, it's the way it is, you know? Han Solo in his early 20s, whatever. You know,
it needs to be believable.
If you got Chewie standing next to you and he's all of a sudden like 3
you're
feet
gonna
taller,
you're gonna have Chewie standing next to you, and I think that's gonna be pointed out.
And
you have to also point out that most of the guys on that list did not have a strong jaw.
I don't care if you don't, like, if I don't immediately go, oh my god, that's Harrison Ford, I'm not gonna cry and leave the theater.
See, you're obsessed with this Harrison Ford thing, and I'm not looking at it as Harrison Ford at all. I'm looking at it as Han Solo, whether you're talking current canon or Legends. That guy needs to be able to resemble and play certain aspects of his character that resemble the Han Solo that we know, and then he needs to be able to add a whole new dimension, which is why I think Gruber's out. Is I don't think he has that ability. But you, like, Miles Teller is Han Solo? Over my dead body.
I'm not saying I could buy Miles Teller in the role. I'd have a hard time with it, but I had a hard time with Heath Ledger as the Joker. Like, you know, you can't buy things until you actually see them. You know, the coin is pretty much set now. You know, you've got the good side, which is, I can't buy it, but it worked, Heath Ledger. I can't buy it, it didn't work, most likely Jesse Eisenberg.
I think that you're
Coins in
by
the air.
yourself on the
I can be
Heath
by
Ledger
myself,
thing.
I don't care.
I mean,
I want a guy who can act. If they bring a guy who looks like Harrison Ford and he acts like shit, I'm going to be more upset.
Okay, but I think we can all establish that this list, there's only one guy that you would say looks a lot like Harrison Ford at a younger age, and that'd be Blake Jenner. But I think you could also establish Miles Teller just doesn't have the look or the strong jaw, nor does Elgort, nor does Lerman, and Cohen is almost laughable. My fiance, who just woke up due to me getting excited during this conversation, just whispered to me, in her opinion, they all just look too clean. I know that sort of thing can be fixed up. But at the same time, I agree with the acting. I'm not saying don't go get somebody who can't act. If you get someone that can't act, this thing is going to turn out... This may not be an overwhelming majority of people that say this, but I mean, I think it is. This thing could turn out more disastrous than Episode 1. It really could.
Absolutely it could. Because if you think the purists were pissed off at Episode 1, just imagine how pissed off the purists are going to be.
Oh, well, you already have
getting them. They're not coming. They're already pissed. Just because it's happening.
To their credit, I still think if you're doing a Han Solo spin-off film, you should have contracted Harrison Ford for more than one film. You should have had a film 5 years prior to The Force Awakens, even 10 years. You can have that believable. Harrison Ford believable as that. And I think people would have gone to the theaters in flocks.
I still think at the end of the day, the only way we were ever getting Harrison back was if he died.
Yeah, you're probably right. Although his payday certainly, his pocketbook certainly didn't hurt.
Yeah, but
And I think when you get to this age, you start thinking a little bit more about the pocketbook, not for yourself, but for your family.
His pocketbook is big enough that his great-great-great-grandkids are probably set
Yeah,
for
but
life.
you never stop thinking about that. I mean, Guns N' Roses is proof of that.
That's why he's got Indy 5.
Yeah, I mean, there was a report a long while back that that had to be part of the negotiation. Indy 5 had to be happening for him to appear in The Force Awakens. Whether that's true, who knows?
Well, I know this is way off topic, but I know he was not happy with Indy 4.
It should also be pointed out, though, and we don't want to go too far on Indy, because if you want to hear about Indiana Jones, there's a long 25-minute debate that will come out Monday on Cinema Chatter on the Empire Network. Let's just leave it at that for Indy. It was recorded last night.
It's a fun half an hour.
You want to talk about heated debates? There's a heated debate. Look, I think there has to be a look, because this is Han Solo. Maybe the stilt things works if it's 2 or 3 inches. I don't have these other actors' heights in front of me, but there's just some of them I look at and I go, no, I'm sorry, no. I can't stand Miles Teller as an actor. I've seen him in a few things, and I just, sorry. Like you said, it wasn't his fault about Fantastic Four, and I have no doubt. A lot of people seem to think that Fox put their nose too far into it and ruined Trank's movie, and then other people say Trank's a moron. But I don't like Miles Teller. Hell, I'm not even a big Dave Franco fan, but now I find myself sitting here going, I could probably buy Dave Franco. But I would really love to see Scott Eastwood as Han Solo. That would be awesome. Don't count out the possibility, though. How many times did we hear the Force Awakens rumors? And it was this guy or that girl and this guy and that girl. And, oh, Leo's going to finally do a Star Wars movie. And, oh, Tom Cruise might be in it. And, I mean, those ones were a little bit of stretches. Elgort, you might need to shrink then. Maybe Elgort can play Chewbacca? Young Chewbacca? No, because Chewbacca's not that young. Anyway, though, point being, there was a lot of the Force Awakens rumors that didn't turn out to be true in terms of casting. Would either one of you guys be surprised if it's still a name that has not been mentioned? Or do you think the name is going to come off this list?
Quite frankly, I'd be more shocked if the name came off this list than if it didn't. I'm confident that whoever is actually going to play Han Solo, we're not going to know about it until they pull him out at Celebration, would be my guess.
Speaking of which, can we? There's another part to this rumor that I want to touch on, is that Han Solo's going to have a cameo in Rogue One. No effing chance in hell Han Solo's having a cameo in Rogue One. If you want to see more than just purists get pissed off, if Rogue One is supposed to happen somewhere between a year or two at the most to a few weeks before A New Hope, how are you going to explain how Han Solo goes from looking like Harrison Ford to looking, from what they've casted this movie as, 10 years younger?
It
that
makes
no
sense story-wise.
No, you don't need to throw that. You want to do something with him with Rogue One? Have an after the credits super early teaser for Han Solo. Have like literally a little 10-second thing of Han, the new Han and Chewie. Get people excited, and that little 10 to 15-second thing can play for the next year and a half as they wait for the Han Solo film.
That would just be ass backwards of what needs to happen.
It makes no sense for Han to be in any way involved in the business of the Republic. And that's what this is. This is all about them finally stealing the Death Star plans. Like, this... He is busy dealing with Jabba the Hutt. Okay, that's
I mean,
what he's doing.
he dropped his cargo at the first sign of the Imperials. That you could have as part of it. You know, he can't be in with the rebellion, but no, it's too close to A New Hope.
It makes no sense. It's a cameo for cameo's sake.
It makes no sense timing-wise, more than it doesn't make sense story-wise. Because you could always write something in there, right? That they somehow crossed paths or did something or another, right? But, and this is what I pointed out as soon as I saw this, that is the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life.
If they do that, like, I'm sorry, there's going to be a bunch of people that shoot their hands up in the air and go, well, that's a Disney thing.
The closest I want Rogue One to come to a Han Solo cameo is the Millennium Falcon doing a flyby.
Yeah,
I mean, if you see the Millennium Falcon in space traffic, then that's fine. That's okay. You know, the Falcon is in space. That makes perfect sense. I don't want to see Han Solo's face. I don't want to see Chewie's face.
No, I still think you can have them in the story for the right purposes, because they did have entanglements with the Imperials before. But it's the recasting. There's why piss everybody off by doing something like that? It just makes no sense. No sense to me.
And I touched on this with you. Is I think that whole thing is a crock of BS, unless one of two things happens. Either A, you don't actually see Han Solo. You know, maybe you see the Falcon and Chewie sitting in there and Han supposedly in the back doing something. Or B, if maybe this film starts off a lot sooner than what we are led to believe that it's starting off at. You know, I mean, we know where the movie ends. You know, I'm talking about Rogue One. You know, and we have an idea of where we think it should start. I mean, I don't know. It just, the whole thing just smells kind of fishy to me.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't want to see it. There's no reason to have Han really appear in Rogue One. If you're going to digitally put on Harrison Ford's face, fine. But there's they've been going on about you need to believe, practical effects this.
Unless they literally have the Rogue One crew end up at Mos Eisley, and you have Han literally in a cut and paste from the cantina scene in 4, without saying a word. It's the only way that could make any shrivel of sense, but at the end of the day, it still doesn't make sense.
No, I agree. Too close. I mean, if Rogue One's 10 years out, sure, have at it. Death Star plans aren't getting found that early. Sorry.
Death Star wouldn't have even been really...
I mean, it's already constructed quite a bit by the end of Revenge of the Sith, if you remember. At least the exterior. The framing. But, no, it wouldn't have been anywhere close to finish.
If they had the plans for a full 10 years before they actually did anything with them, that would be very confusing, considering Leia's life was in grave danger because of them.
Rogue brings up a couple of good points I want to run over with you guys, and then we'll move on, because we've spent too much time on this topic, but I figured that might happen. He points out that it's kind of too late, really, to have a Han Solo cameo. Well, there's reshoots, and, I mean, you could probably find a way to work it in if all you needed was the guy playing him on set.
Movie's not in post yet, so it's not...
yeah, but, I mean, it wouldn't be logical to do it now. I would totally agree with that. Rogue's also done us the favor of searching up said actor's height. Ansel Elgort is 6'4", Miles Teller 6 foot, Dave Franco 5'7", Jack Rayner 6 foot, Scott Eastwood 5'11", Logan Lerman 5'9", Emery Cohen 5'7", Blake Jenner 6'1". I don't buy the whole stilts thing, because that's, any sort of lifts, pardon me. It's just, why go through that trouble? You would have to have a near Oscar type performance to go through that trouble. Elgort's out 6'4". 6'4" is way too big. If Han's 6'1", 3 inches taller. I guess he shrunk 3 inches between 20 and 30. Possible, I guess. Rare. And Franco would be out at 5'7", and Cohen would be out at 5'7". But we also don't know how legit some of these names are. I expect some of them are, and I expect some of them are just thrown in there. And I realize this report came from Variety, but it wouldn't be the first time they've got something wrong. I know this. Give us somebody with the strong jaw. You were on the strong jaw thing, right, Fizz?
Strong jaw is important.
Yes. Some of those guys don't have it. Sorry. Not even close. Strong jaw. At least a resemblance in terms of the physical stature. Somebody's appearance can change quite a bit in 10 years. Acknowledged. It's got to be, not 100 pounds soaking wet and not 300 pounds. Simple as that. And somebody, most importantly, who can act and is going to add to the role, not just copy Han Solo that we know. Fair to say?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, moving on. Will Lando be in Episode 8, and will Lando be in the Solo film? Thoughts, guys?
No and no. It makes no. At this point, he's too old to be in the Solo film because it's just, I don't know, it's too far back. I mean, it's almost the same reason you wouldn't want, Leia being in Rogue One. I mean, her age at this point just doesn't fit the timeline.
Well, hang on, Leia in Rogue One?
Yeah.
Leia could absolutely be in Rogue One.
How are we on Leia all of a sudden?
Not on her.
Not Lando.
Not with her current age.
But Rogue One might happen a few weeks before A New Hope.
Yes, but how long ago was A New Hope? So you're telling me that Carrie Fisher...
Okay. I think you could recast Leia. I think Billie Lourd can step into that role,
Absolutely.
her daughter.
Yeah, and
she has acting ability.
No, I'm talking about Carrie Fisher.
Okay, you didn't really make that clear. I agree with that. 150 billion %.
Okay. It's the same reason you wouldn't have Carrie Fisher as Leia in Rogue One. It just doesn't make sense. I mean, the age difference, it's just not there. It's and unfortunately, Billy D's a little, he aged well, not that well.
Okay, but I'm not saying it has to be Billy D.
Will be there.
Is Lando?
Be there.
So, I mean, will Billy D be in Episode 8 would be the question, and will Lando be in the Han Solo film?
Okay, I'm sorry. I misunderstood the question. A little bit. I think if you recast it right. Absolutely. I think having him in the Solo film makes perfect sense, especially if it's the origin of how he got the Millennium Falcon. We've heard about it. Never really seen it, right?
I almost feel like that almost has to happen in this film. I think 10 years, if it's 10 years before A New Hope, a decade's plenty of time to fall in love with something like Han did the Falcon. And I mean, this is Lawrence Kasdan who is writing this thing with his son, and I would love to have Kasdan's enthusiasm in the whole Han Solo winning the Falcon from Lando, and Lando accusing him of cheating, and it'd be epic. Yeah,
that would be. You're absolutely right. And do I think, Billy D's going to be in Episode 8? Unfortunately, I don't think so at this point. I know for whatever reason, all these old news articles keep circulating on.
Yeah, that's
Facebook
really
and
annoying. The whole Lando's confirmed. I messed up on the one. I'll take blame for that. But you had pointed out it was almost a year ago, and then the whole Obi-Wan trilogy thing that's been going around again. This is not news, people.
Read dates in news.
Yes,
before
this
you
is
report
from 8 months ago. Nobody wants an Obi-Wan movie, let alone trilogy, more than me.
I'll forgive you if the article doesn't actually have a date in it, but if the date specifically says 2013, what are you doing?
Exactly.
What are you doing?
Really quickly, Lando, final thoughts on the Lando thing.
I just don't think you're going to see him in Episode 8. It's unfortunate. I think they're just going to keep him in more of a Rebels thing.
I think I might agree with you. At first, I thought Lando's definitely appearing. And I mean, Billy D could have been playing coy when he said he hasn't been contacted a couple weeks back. Episode 9 is always a possibility. I have a hard time believing they'll just randomly introduce him in 9, though. He might not be in this new trilogy. I would expect to see more of him in Rebels. Let's hope, though. I mean, there's enough room to have Lando in for a scene or two. And before they say, well, Han's gone, why Lando? Well, you could have Lando and Kylo Ren. You could have Lando and Luke. You could have Lando and Leia. So many possibilities. Who knows what Lando's even up to these days?
You could have Lando try to come back for the Falcon.
No.
You know.
He didn't abscond with it in Jedi, so that's a moot point now. He had the chance.
I don't think Lando will be coming back for the Falcon. I agree with what Rogue pointed out, is it won't be an active role. Billy D, I mean, unless his health and body shape turns around massively in the next 2.5 weeks or so, no, it wouldn't be an active role. It'd be similar to Leia in this movie, and probably even less than what Leia had in The Force Awakens. Fizz, Lando in the Han movie and Billy D in 8. Yeah.
I gotta go yes and yes. I think Han taking possession of the Falcon is going to be an important part of the Han-thology film. And I honestly do believe that Lando Calrissian has, with the destruction of Hosnian Prime, kind of bumbled his way into a high-ranking position inside of the new Senate.
The New Republic, anyway.
The New Republic Senate.
Yeah.
So, I think he's bumbled. I think his way
I think
into
the
that
Senate no
position,
longer
kind of like
exists.
Jar Jar did.
From what I understand, is the Senate no longer exists.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think he's bumbled his way into it. You know, he was off on a.
Good God, Lando as the new chancellor. That'd be scary.
Oh, Jesus.
What do we have here?
But no, I definitely think he's going to be around there. And Rogue pointed out Michael B. Jordan. His name is going to come up.
I don't think he's going to get it. His name will come up, but I don't think he's going to get it.
I think
he's in too much.
But I think his success will keep him away. He's becoming too big right now.
I agree.
So.
Totally agree. Dumb question here. Is it true that's Jordan's kid?
Not that I'm aware of.
I wasn't aware of that either, and then I read an article today that claimed that is Michael Jordan's kid. I don't buy it. I don't believe it. I can't even say where the article is from. I can't remember it, but I thought to myself, no, that's just too obvious. No way. Anyway, my Lando, no for Episode 8, but I hope he is. And Lando definitely in a Han Solo film. The question would be, I mean, if he's going to have a big part and be with Han most of the film.
I did just look into this. He is the son of Michael Jordan, a caterer from California. So.
I guess that's half accurate then.
That's up there when I was a kid. I don't know if you guys remember this, but there was a rumor that X-Pac was adopted by Tupac.
Oh man,
that makes less than 0 sense.
Oh, that's so bad that it's funny.
Tupac was already dead when X-Pac.
Oh, I know. So. That's just funny. I remember that.
Okay, my answer. Yeah, well, Michael B. Jordan would be interesting as Lando if Lando was going to be in most of the film with Han. That I could see, but if it's just a couple of scenes where he loses the Falcon and then it goes back to just Han and Chewie, no, Michael B. Jordan's not doing that. I don't think.
I think if it's short, you might have a better chance of him doing it. If it is, a quick little couple-minute cameo that he could squeeze into an otherwise big schedule.
Well, you know who? John Boyega would have made a fantastic young. I'm not starting the rumors either, but
we're not going there, buddy.
No, he's not Finn's kid. But let's be honest, John Boyega would have made a wonderful young Han.
I hope he's not Finn's kid.
Or young Han, pardon me, young Lando.
How about do you guys? Does anybody here watch New Girl?
Yes.
How about the guy who's Winston from that show?
I could buy that.
Not Coach, but Winston.
I could buy that.
It's like he kind of fits like the body type, the height. I don't know. Just throwing that out there.
And now moving on to a topic that I forgot to put in our show notes. Vader and Rogue One. I don't want to dive into it this week too much. Just yes or no. Is it going to happen? And maybe a minute of your thoughts. Mondo.
Absolutely. Like I said earlier, it's too easy not to. And I think if you, first of all, by doing it, the merchandise possibilities are through the roof, and it's a cheap sell. I'll be honest with you, and it makes sense. I mean, it makes more sense to have him in the film than not having him in the film. So I think you've got to. I think there's no way around it.
Fizz?
Abso-freaking-lutely. There's no debate in my mind. He is in Rogue One, and it's simply because he took them stealing the Death Star plans far too personally in 4. It offended him greatly, and not just in a, I'm in a position of power in the Empire type way, but it was personally offensive to him. So, yeah, he's got to be there. They have to slip one over on old Darth Vader for him to be that offended, I think.
I agree, and I'd also like to point out those going, why aren't there any Bothans in Rogue One so far? It was pointed out to me, you need to remember, the Bothans helped steal the second Death Star. Not the first, the second. Exactly. Said by the man that we're waiting to join us. Yes, wrong Death Star indeed. Absolutely. Vader's going to be in this film. I would love it. Teaser comes out. You see 70 seconds of, random cool stuff with, cuts to black taking up most of the time, like with The Force Awakens, and then at the end, just before the title comes up, maybe you, on a black screen, you hear the that sounded like Cookie from Cookie Monster. No, I mean the Vader breathing. That you don't even need to show them in the teaser. Just hear the breathing, and the fans are gonna go bonkers.
See, I would like kind of that, but it's like the black screen, and then all of a sudden you just hear, just like the light, and then you just see like the lightsaber just ignite.
That doesn't make sense.
I guess if it was a red lightsaber,
well, yeah,
it might give. Oh, no, because there's Inquisitors too. So
it makes no sense. It has to be the breathing. The breathing is far more. I mean, I guess you could do both, but I think you're gonna get the breathing, not the lightsaber.
Oh yeah, like the black screen, the breathing, then the lightsaber.
We have sent an invite out to Mr. Benjamin Hart of the Star Wars Underworld. We're just waiting to be joined by him.
Taking a sweetly precious time.
So, in the meantime, because we can't touch those next topics without it, we have a big one. Who is Snoke?
Well, we can go back to them now, because finally joining us from under the couch on the cave in Tatooine, Mr. Ben Hart. How you doing, Ben?
Oh, nice to meet with you guys.
It's a pleasure to have you here, as always.
Yes, I should say it is especially a pleasure tonight because I think this is my first time on since the big Wastelands 2.0, the upgrade, and very impressed with what I've been hearing, and now I get to be here, so it's awesome. Glad to be back.
Did you bring Kanja Club with you?
Tell that to Kanja Club.
Man, you sound like you're about to go chase down some Lucky Charms, my friend.
Oh yeah.
So let's get right to it. Star Wars Rebels comes back next week, I believe, the 20th.
Yes.
Is that correct?
20th? Today.
Yeah. Less than a week from now, by a couple hours. Confirm this for us, if you will. Leia's in the first episode or the second episode back?
The first episode, from what I've read, from what our reports have come about, it's the first episode is going to be called "A Princess on Lothal." That is the season, I guess what you would call the mid-season premiere episode, airing next week.
Right. I mean, just in general, your thoughts about Leia appearing on Rebels?
About frickin' time. I mean, you introduced this era, it was only a matter of time before it happened. So finally we're getting it. And I don't know, it's a princess on Lothal, so I'm like, I thought we were away from Lothal, and it almost seems a little convenient that everybody shows up on Lothal, but I'm still going to wait until I watch the episode. But, Princess Leia, heck yeah. I mean, and even so, a slight, not a really big, but yes, it is a connection to Force Awakens, which is pretty cool, I think.
I'm a little bit disappointed about the going back to Lothal too. It's getting a little old. We found out how it happened to Ezra's parents. Be done with it. Move on. Leia appearing, I think, is going to be really cool, but I think a lot of people need to remember at this point, she's more or less part of the Empire, not. She's
not full on blowing up planets, but
no,
she's writing. She is a member of the Imperial Senate on a diplomatic mission to Alderaan. I mean, she's that still, and that's something that we also forget a lot of times, is the fact that she is an Imperial senator. She is part of the Empire. That's why she wears white in New Hope, just like the Stormtroopers, because she's part of that thing where there are all these stark colors, and she even puts on kind of this Imperial British accent at times in A New Hope, kind of to play off of people like Tarkin and whatever, because she is one of them, or at least used to be. She's a traitor.
Indeed. I think a lot of people forget that, though. I think people thought she was just going to pop up and boom, here's the rebellion. Well, that's going on behind the scenes.
But front and center, she's with the bad guys.
Yeah, I mean, that's absolutely it. Fizz and Mondo, what are your thoughts about Leia in Rebels, finally?
Well, we've seen both of her daddies appear, so it's about time she finally showed up.
I think it's great. I think one of the cool things about Rebels is that it introduces a younger audience to the bigger Star Wars picture. And I think, to have a connection to Episode 7 is a big plus. And even for the older fans, the more diehard fans, to kind of see the almost kind of like a weird Leia origin, kind of. Obviously not as far back as that, but, it's cool. It's a cool nod.
I seen the preview clip where she comes down the ramp and talks to Ezra and Kanan, and it was totally brought me right back to Leia from A New Hope and how, snide she was and bossy and, for the lack of a better term, bitchy towards the heroes in A New Hope. That's exactly how she was in this preview clip. I think they nailed that. Go ahead.
Not to sound stupid, but we all know it's Mondo. Who do they have playing the voice of Leia?
I don't remember the actresses. Go ahead, Ben.
Her name is Julian Dolan, and I should say Julia Dolan. And she voiced Leia in the what was the game? The recent game, Star Wars Uprising. Which is interesting because up until this point, kind of Kat Tabor has been kind of the unofficial voice of Leia, and she played young Leia in Force Unleashed, and I would have thought they'd bring her back, but here she is. Julia Dolan is playing a post Return of the Jedi Leia and also a pre A New Hope Leia.
I just found that interesting. I just wanted to. That's kind of cool, though. Now, kind of a follow-up question. Now, a minute ago, we talked about, Han Solo in Rogue One. Do you think at any point you can maybe see a Han Solo cameo in Rebels?
I think, yes. I think I would venture to say Han and Chewie will show up in Rebels sooner or later, because they were going to show up in, Chewie did show up in Clone Wars, but Han was going to show up in Clone Wars. I can almost guarantee it, because there's several signs of that. And I don't think, especially since you have people like Freddie Prinze Jr. talking about how this show could go on for 5-6 seasons. I think if they go that long, they're going to run through all of the original trilogy characters they can possibly get into this show, which I wish they've done so many cameos, especially this season. I'm just like, come on, lay off. Let's get some character development with your original characters. But they've had Hondo. We'll see. No doubt we'll see Boba Fett, Dengar, all those guys. We'll probably have a whole season dedicated to bounty hunters.
Now, didn't Anthony Ingruber say that he was contacted about doing the... I mean, he could be blowing steam out his butt, but about doing the voice for Han in Rebels, and then nothing ever came of it?
He said, I can't remember when that was. He said at one point he was contacted about doing the voice of Han, but I'm not sure if that was for Clone Wars or Rebels. I think he didn't know for sure, even himself. It could have been Rebels. I presume it was Clone Wars. Who knows?
Han would have been quite young during Clone Wars.
Yeah, I mean,
even being 10 years older than the other two. I mean,
he was going to be in Revenge of the Sith, and he was going to be like a little kid, like 11 years old or something like that.
So that would have made Han 8 or 9 years old during the Clone Wars, depending on when. I mean, Clone Wars end at the beginning of Revenge of the Sith, so I mean, could have been 11, but
yeah, who knows?
No, I think you'll see Han and Chewie. And it leads me sort of. You mentioned other original members showing up, and I'll follow that question. I'll ask that question after we talk about this next little piece here. Making Star Wars reported, and I don't know what you guys have in terms of your sources, if you can confirm this or not, that apparently a Vader versus Ahsoka trailer or clip of some sort is supposed to drop this week. Have you heard anything on that?
No, this is the first I've heard. I saw them mention that. I saw them mention, Vader versus Ahsoka is coming, and I was like, why would they state that with such, of course, making Star Wars, they know a lot of stuff. So when they say they know stuff, they probably do. That's interesting. It's kind of a given, Vader versus Ahsoka, it's coming, but that sounds interesting. I guess maybe, we've only got a few episodes left in this season, and we're assuming Dave Filoni has heavily hinted at it happening sometime this season, probably for the season finale. So I guess they're going to start hyping it up and give us that, thing. It's going to be interesting.
Well, that leads me to this is, will there be more than one Ahsoka? I mean, I would assume if they're going to kill off Ahsoka, it's going to be at the hands of Vader and nobody else. I mean, I guess it would depend where they go with Ezra. I could see maybe a turn there, shocking fans, but I mean, we have to keep in mind this is still on Disney XD. Can she will she survive the first battle with Vader? Is there going to be more? Do you think that first season finale is going to be it? I have a hard time believing that they're going to get rid of Ahsoka already, especially with Freddie Prinze Jr. coming out and saying, this thing, has the potential and at least is being planned right now to go 5, 6, 7 seasons.
Not hardly a year ago, they brought her back. So I think killing her off this soon would be a huge mistake. I don't think they're going to do that. Just for the fact of they haven't used her that much. She really has not. She's played a big role in 1 or 2 episodes so far. So she really hasn't come back in really a big way yet. So
I'm really glad that they haven't used her a lot. And I mean, she obviously knows of Bail Organa's part in this, as has been showed on the show, I believe. A buddy of mine ran by this theory of me today. She fights Vader, confirms that it's Anakin, which would be, I mean, she already has her hunches about it, but during the fight, it's confirmed. She somehow survives the fight, gets out, barely, maybe. And wouldn't that be sort of like a fitting way to involve Obi-Wan in Rebels? Do any of us really believe Obi-Wan's not going to pop up on Rebels?
I'm
not saying come off Tatooine. I'm saying Ahsoka go to Tatooine because Bail would know where he is.
I see where you're going there. I like that idea. I don't like the idea of him going off and doing adventures on his own.
I agree.
I think some people disagree with me, but I think his mission there is to watch over Luke. He does not leave. He stays there. But I think the opportunity to have Ahsoka or someone else go to Tatooine. I think that would make sense because she knows Bail Organa. Bail Organa knows everything, and she would go to him and say, "Okay, Obi-Wan didn't tell me the whole truth, or whatever. I need to talk to him." So,
I just thought it would be amazing because, I mean, Bail might reluctantly give it up given everything that Ahsoka has done for him in the rebellion.
Remember, she force chokes it out of him.
So she goes and, confronts Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan probably isn't particularly pleased that his location's been given up, and talks to her for a bit and more or less gives her the gist of what happened with Anakin. And perhaps at the end of it, says something like, in a friendly Obi-Wan type of way, "Don't come back here again."
Yeah.
And then that really plays, a role in just how serious it was to reach out to him in A New Hope even more, because he's already said, "Don't come back here again," because it's putting Luke at risk.
Yeah, that would be interesting. You think how Obi-Wan would react to that.
And in terms of what you said about Obi-Wan not leaving the planet, I'll say this about the whole idea of an Obi-Wan standalone film and trilogy. I firmly believe if it happens, it has to be on Tatooine. In almost like a Mad Max style movie. Mondo and Fizz, what do you think about that idea of Ahsoka surviving that first battle with Vader and that being a way to involve Obi-Wan in the show?
I'd be okay with it. I mean, I think if she does escape, it needs to be through either sheer luck or, something of that sort. I mean, there's no way she can best him. Not in battle. I don't think there's any way she could, so...
Not by that point.
I mean, she'd have to get away almost by fluke. And,
I'm going to say this. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Ben.
Well, I'm just going to say that I don't think she'll die, but I think someone needs to die. So I'm wondering if they'll possibly kill off Kanan and Ahsoka will take over Ezra's training.
That would be interesting. Well, that might be actually a more fitting battle. Is what if it's not Ahsoka and Vader, or against Vader? What if it's Ahsoka and Kanan against Vader, or it's Ahsoka against Vader and Kanan comes in for the save? She gets away, but ultimately ends up with Kanan dying.
Awesome.
Something along those lines, anyway. Mono, any thoughts on this? Or
first of all, I need to see if they have this show on Blu-ray.
They do.
At least the first season.
They do.
I've seen like the volume 1 and volume 2, but I haven't seen it all together.
They have the show on Blu-ray.
Heck yeah, I need to pick that up. But no, I mean, from what I've seen of the show, it doesn't make sense to kill her off yet, especially if the show's going to go on a couple more seasons. I mean, she's a pivotal part of the show, right? I mean, you can't do that. No, I do think, a lot of people have been talking about Obi-Wan, right? Where's Obi-Wan? They want to see more Obi-Wan. I can totally see them bringing Obi-Wan into this in some way, maybe traveling to Tatooine and getting involved there.
Yeah, let's get James Arnold Taylor back into this.
Heck yes.
Yeah, big fan. When we have you on, Ben, before we get to the Blu-ray, though, now, do you think that we're going to see any Rebels characters in Rogue One, or do you think it's more likely we're going to see Rogue One characters pop up in Rebels?
I think the Rogue One characters popping up in Rebels is much more plausible. I'll be shocked if we see, Kanan, Ezra, Ahsoka, anyone show up in Rogue One. I think, just the logistics of taking a well-known, animated character and translating that into a live action and putting it on screen, that's going to be a little bit different. I think the best you can expect from, Rogue One referencing Rebels is maybe, just an offhand saying, we got this information from Phoenix Squadron or whatever, that kind of stuff, which would be great. And that's what stuff fans would love, is to have that kind of connective tissue. But see, I'm one that's already expecting people like, Lor Santeca, Maz Kanata, people like that to show up in Rebels, to show up in these things, to give them more backstory. I think they have to have something connecting, Rebels with Rogue One. They're too close. So, and there's this rumor about the fact of a certain character having, something to do with the construction of the Death Star, the design of the Death Star, and that in turn, kind of sets off what happens in Rogue One. That will be interesting to see, like, how that comes about, and maybe Rebels have something to do with that beforehand, and how maybe Rebels be kind of have an episode of Rebels or a few episodes that are kind of prequels to Rogue One that kind of lead into it. They have to do something. I mean, it's like these are things that are too close together. They're telling basically the same story, which is the prelude to A New Hope. So why not?
What'd be cool is if somehow one of the ships that the guys in Rogue One used, even if it's none of the crew from there, although it'd be kind of cool to see Chopper. Chopper would be feasible.
That would be fantastic. I would even love to see Chopper in like Episode 8. Like he's just like survived all that time and he's just wandering around the Resistance base.
Lando and Chopper together in Episode 8.
Yes.
No, what I was going to say is it'd be cool to see the Ghost maybe as one of the ships used in Rogue One. Not necessarily the crew from the Ghost, but...
Or do you see it like off in the distance, like just flying, like the Millennium Falcon in Episode 3?
Yep.
Like just see it there, like it's there, like we're not going out of our way to reference this, but it's there.
No, I totally agree with that. Let's move on to the Blu-ray, and then we'll let you go. Do you or any of the boys at SWU have any more information regarding the Blu-ray release? Because we're hearing anywhere from the April dates rumored all the way to June 30th.
Now we're talking Rebels Blu-ray.
No, The Force Awakens.
Force Awakens. I regretfully have not been paying a whole lot of attention to that. I don't know what the last report was. I would expect
Amazon had it up as June 30th. And DVDs are really their cup of tea, and they could have, misreported, or someone at Amazon just could have simply screwed up. But
I don't. Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know. I would expect. The first date I heard was April 26th, and that was way back. And I think that's changed around. But I'm still kind of in my mind expecting around April that time. Seems like a good amount of time has passed. It's getting towards summer, and I don't know. Maybe things are changing. Maybe they're trying to withhold that information and see what happens within theaters. They don't want to release the DVD and Blu-ray too early because they don't want it. They don't want people to miss out. They don't want people to not go to the theaters because it's on Blu-ray. If it's still in theaters by that time, they want people going to the theaters. So
yeah, I agree.
And there's also, I don't think this is going to happen, but people have been talking about how they could easily do, release new footage or just do a Rogue One teaser in theaters and then have it playing in front of Force Awakens or behind Force Awakens.
Oh, that would be an interesting way to get people to go back to catch up to Avatar.
Right. So, they could do that. I mean, if it gets down to the wire and Force Awakens is about to go out of theaters and they're only, a few million away, they could do that.
That would be very interesting to see if they were desperate enough to do something like that. I mean, it is what it is. Avatar had way more days in theater, and a lot of people are seeing The Force Awakens in standard. There's still a lot of people that don't like the 3D, where almost everybody that went to see Avatar was 3D, and it's also been re-released as well, so you have to include that. Do you think that the Blu-ray is going to be packed with extras like we had with the prequels? Originally, I thought that was going to happen because, one, it's Disney, and to be honest, Disney extras on DVDs and Blu-rays aren't exactly overwhelming, where I thought, knock the prequels all you want, but the DVD releases of the prequels are amazing with all the extra content.
Yeah.
And then I see what I've seen today, which I can only, if they're removing that, it seems like it would only fit with, a Blu-ray release. Does it give you more hope with all the little extra stuff that's been revealed in the last couple of months, the behind-the-scenes stuff, that we might get a Blu-ray that's packed with extras, or does that make it less likely, in your opinion?
They have to do something. I mean, I'm
not just talking 8 minutes of deleted scenes. I'm talking, a making of, featurettes, webisodes, stuff like that. There's
too much there. We've already seen, like, they've been releasing, like, there's been, even on, I think the official Star Wars YouTube or a few others, they've released like these interesting, behind the scenes featurettes. They had one the other day that was talking to Oscar Isaac about how his uncle got a cameo in the film. So I think there's plenty of stuff like that they would, I think maybe they're kind of teasing us, giving this stuff to just kind of keep the buzz around, but stuff like this is perfect for DVD, Blu-ray, and bonus features. They would be remiss not to put a bunch of stuff. I mean, how awesome would it be to have like an hour-long, making up? Because this movie is so much bigger than just a movie. It is, the new star of the thing and how it's development, and I would love to just get into the politics behind, set the record straight and explain how all this came about, how George
You could
Lucas
almost
started
do an
this off.
Empire of Dreams thing with it. I mean, that's a little much to expect 2.5 hours, but
That would be amazing.
keep in mind the prequels all had. Now the episode 1, the beginning
Right.
was the best one from the prequels.
Yeah, I think I can't help but think that they wouldn't miss another chance to harp on practical effects again. So, I will take more practical effects thing. I will drink myself drunk, trying to keep up with all the practical effects talk. If they'll give us something good,
Well,
I will take it.
episode 2 had the 2 digital making of, sort of, not of the whole movie, but just the digital effects, and each one of them were about a half an hour to equal an hour. And then episode 3 had the Within a Minute, which was an hour and 20 minutes. But I liked the episode 1 best because it sort of brought you from pre-production all the way to the film's release, and that, I mean, to do something like that for The Force Awakens would be incredible. That alone, people are going to go nuts buying the DVD or the Blu-ray.
Yeah, I think someone else talked about how they were afraid. I think this is a worthy, thing to worry about, is the fact that they might not be willing to go the extra mile in talking in depth about this movie just because it's the first of 3, and they're still trying to keep secrets. So it'll be interesting to see like how much stuff they still withhold about, like certain scenes or whatever. You have like for instance the scene with Kylo going into the boarding the Falcon on Starkiller Base and sitting in the cockpit. Like, that's an amazing scene. I want to see that really bad. But will we see that?
I think that one would have to be a must. We know it was filmed. You see a little bit of the picture of the 2 snowtroopers aboard the Falcon in the visual dictionary.
Yeah.
But Mondo, Fizz, do you guys think that they'll go away from the normal Disney habit of things of not having a ton of extras and stick with the Star Wars, habits of having a ton of extras, or do you think this is going to go more to the Disney side of things and have stuff cut down?
I think we'll probably see a healthy medium. I don't think we're going to get hours of bonus content, but we're definitely going to get a good chunk. More than the average Disney, but less than your typical Star Wars.
As somebody that buys a lot of Disney DVDs, I've actually felt that the Disney movies, at least certain ones, definitely have quite a bit of content in them. They just have so many different versions. It just depends which one you get, right? I do think, though, we are going to get a lot of content with this. I mean, and the reason I say that is the success of the box office. People are going to buy the movie to begin with, right? But Disney has an opportunity to maybe continue the record-breaking streak, and if you include a bunch of stuff that gets people that, I've seen it, I really don't need to own it, so that attitude, and you give them something to, oh, well, that'd be cool to watch, kind of gives them a reason to go and buy the film.
I totally agree. Ben, Mr. Hart, thanks for you and Kanja Club joining us tonight. Where can everybody find you in the coming week?
They can listen to me on Star Wars Underworld podcast tomorrow, Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern. We'll be live talking some more Force Awakens, specifically Mr. Han Solo. Got some special guests with us also, too, to break break that down. And then on IPC on this Saturday at 10 p.m. Eastern, we will be discussing, wait for it, Firefly. We're going to be finally breaking down Firefly. We've been promising it for like 2 years, so it's happening, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So be sure to, of course, StarWarsUnderworld.com. If you want to, by the way, that VFX thing that came out earlier to see that the Oscars took down, check out StarWarsUnderworld.com. You will find it there. And all your Star Wars news is there, so whatever.
Awesome. That's good stuff. This is off topic, and I'm not supposed to do it, but I'm going to do it anyway. Really quickly, how excited are you for Daredevil Season 2 featuring the Punisher?
Oh, that I'm very much excited. That looks really good. And that just looks like perfect casting and everything. And I really enjoyed Daredevil, so getting back into that. And, I mean, I was so disappointed, like, when we first... I don't got to go too far off on this, but, you know, when we found out, like, it was going to be another year before we get more Daredevil, it's like, crap! You know, that was so good, I want more, and now we're getting more.
I had the luxury of only first watching it about 4 months ago, but anyways, Mr. Hart, Kanja Club, thanks for joining us, man. Can't wait to have you back.
The Kanja Club!
That was the founder of the Star Wars Underworld and host of IPC, Mr. Benjamin Hart. We're pretty sure the Kanja Club is chasing him as we speak. You know, they're not paying the rent thing at all.
Always a pleasure to have him on the show, right? You know, so enthusiastic about everything, you know, we talk about. It's always great to get his insight.
Some people are not going to like what we're about to do here, so we're going to have to take it out of our advertising for the YouTube show tomorrow. But we are going to hold off on the Who is Snoke talk until next week.
Well, that's okay, because I don't think Snoke is anybody.
He is absolutely somebody. He is Snoke. He's
Snoke. I don't think he's anybody that we know other than Snoke.
Well, we know Snoke now, so we know who he is.
Snoke is Yogi Bear.
No, he's Boo.
No. If you want to get into some heavy Snoke talk, we are going to run down all the theories, plus the information that is in the Art of the Star Wars The Force Awakens book, which reveals some tidbits about him, too, if you haven't bought that yet. But check us out next week, and we'll talk about Who is Snoke. That was the HoloNet for this week. Let's move on to the Outer Rim, where we talk about the lesser... we'll also be talking about the fans demanding George Lucas to direct episode 9 next week as well. So Snoke and Lucas have been bumped. But it's time to move on to the Outer Rim. In this segment, each week, we bring to you the other Star Wars news topics that have been coming up, whether they're news or rumors or speculation, around the internet over the last week. Each one of the hosts... this is breaking. Someone in California hit the $1.5 billion jackpot drawing. We now know where Jake is.
Thank God I don't have to keep seeing the posts on my Facebook. If I win it, I'm going to do this.
Good God. They probably had a heart attack as soon as they found out. God forbid it. Anyways, the Outer Rim. Each week we bring to you the news stories that weren't quite as big to make the HoloNet, and each one of the hosts, each three of us, will pick a topic, and there is 6 possible topics, so only 3 of them are going to get talked about. However, if you want the other 3, keep an eye on the Future of Star Wars page, the Future of Star Wars group, on Facebook, and we will get it. If Jake got it, we all want our share. Yes, big shares. Anyways, so here are the topics, boys. Bloodlines, the Star Wars novel coming out. The Force Awakens to fall short of Avatar worldwide. JJ knows who Rey's parents are. Adam Driver on SNL, and apparently he's going to be doing a emo Kylo skit. Colin Trevorrow promises satisfying resolution to Rey's parentage mystery. That's worrisome, considering he's not in it till 9. And Boyega says his role is more physical in episode 8. Mondo, which one of those do you want to tackle?
Man. I'm gonna go with Trevorrow promising the resolution to Rey's parents in episode 9. Honestly, this almost leads me to believe that we're not going to get the answer we're looking for in episode 8.
Well, I don't think he specified it would be in his film. He just said that it would be a satisfying conclusion.
There's various reports from a couple of different sites. One of them claims that he more or less insinuates it'd be in his film, but given the how closely all these guys have worked together, one would think that it could still happen in 8, and him of just having a say, just like JJ probably would have a say of how the resolution happens. So it could still happen in 8. But anyway, what do you think of Trevorrow saying that, Mondo?
I think it's ballsy. You know, and I don't think that it's coincidence that he makes a comment like that with petitions going around to get him bumped from episode 9.
Those are going nowhere, but we'll address those next week.
Oh, they're not, and I've said before, but I don't know. I don't know. It's just weird that he would make a comment like that, and when him not directing episode 8. I mean, because at this point, I mean, let's be honest. Even though the script is done and some filming's been done, very little of it, and I think the remainder or the filming starts.
The whole thing launches here in a week or 2.
Yeah, so I mean, there could be some minor changes, I guess, here and there. I don't know. Just weird to say, truthfully. Yeah.
All right, Fizz, what do you want to tackle?
I want to go with JJ, knowing who Rey's parents are. I just have one word to say to that. Duh? Like, come on, seriously? If there is anyone in this world who honestly believe that J.J. Abrams has not known who Rey's parents were from the minute the final script was signed off for 7, then I have some Swampland and Dagobah I'd like to sell you. Like, it's just straight up. I laughed
when I seen that J.J. had said that.
Really? Like, it's obvious, isn't it? And then people are like, oh man, I can't believe he knows. I've heard people saying that, and it's like,
see,
really?
the can't believe he knows part's bothersome, but I thought it was hilarious that he came out and said that. It's like,
of course you know. Like,
no crap.
Who wrote it?
Well, I wouldn't go that far, but I mean, of course he knows. He's in a producer position all the way through, right? I mean, of course he knows. They plotted the trilogy. It's not like they don't know what's coming in 9 already. Like, I mean, come on. The big points have been set in stone for a long time. Of course he knows who Rey's parents are.
Yeah, no, well said. I'm going to tackle the Star Wars Bloodlines novel. I believe that is the final title. That has actually been backed up a bit. It is written by Claudia Gray, who wrote Lost Stars, which is a fantastic novel. No, you don't really, the main Star Wars characters aren't a massive part in the novel at all, really. Most of them not even mentioned. And yet, one of my favorite Star Wars novels ever. Fantastic novel. Where Attack of the Clones, sort of messed up with telling a love story or a heartfelt story. This book does not mess up in doing that, although there's more time to do it in a book than there is a movie. Anyways, our good friends at Collider, the Collider Jedi Council, with Kristen Harloff, John Campea, and Mark Ellis, have reported that they believe that the Bloodlines novel, they know it's not a direct sequel to Lost Stars. Claudia Gray's already came out and said that, but they believe that this is a pre-The Force Awakens Kylo Ren book. If that turns out to be true, I'm going to be the first one in line the day that comes out. Not just for the audiobook, the actual book.
It definitely will be something that I will definitely have a very keen interest in, that's for sure.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's a lot of topic right now, right? I mean, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, so that was the Outer Rim for this week. Look for all the other topics to come up on the Future of Star Wars group. I'm sure they will come up in due time. We have a fan question here and it's from a buddy of ours, a good buddy of ours, a longtime friend of ours, Mr. Mean Dean. And Mr. Mean Dean has asked, do you think it's possible that Luke Skywalker never leaves Ahch-To in Episode 8, and when Rey leaves, he chooses not to go with her?
Interesting theory. To be completely honest with you, I don't think so, though, because of all the training he's had to do. And they wouldn't have, I don't know, like a lot of, footwork training and stuff like that. I don't think he'd put him through all that to have him not on screen a whole lot again in Episode 8.
Fizz, quickly?
It doesn't make sense for me for him to stay on the sneeze.
For me, total cop-out if that was to happen. Total cop-out. Let's just have it like Yoda on Dagobah. Then I think you can start to have fans with a legitimate reason to be pissed off. No, Luke needs to get back out there. Luke needs to go see his sister. Maybe apologize for the role he played in Kylo turning. Just get your hiding butt back out there. I don't want to see him just stranded there. That's dumb. He needs to leave the planet. I will be highly disappointed if he does not. With that said, though, that's all the time we have for you on Star Wars Wastelands this week. Don't be a traitor. We'd like to remind you that if you're a fan of television, tune into the Small Screen Temple, which is up on our YouTube channel right now, the Empire Network, where we discuss Daredevil Season 2, The Walking Dead, Fear the Walking Dead, Arrow, Flash, Scandal, and Supernatural. Don't forget that Hyperspace Gaming comes out tomorrow, Friday, and we're going to count down the top 10 best games of 2015 on the first episode of that. Best video games, all consoles, PC, you name it. And then Monday, we're going to discuss Cinema Chatter. Again, can be found on the Empire Network, where we're going to be talking about Indiana Jones 5, Captain America Civil War, Halloween. Fizz, there was one more. Yeah, it's totally... Yeah, I've totally lost... Anyway, they're the three main topics anyway, and if you're looking for some indie heated debates, it gets quite heated between Jake, myself, and McMahon during that. You can find that Monday.
It was very heated Cinema Chatter.
Yeah, no, it absolutely was. You can catch all that. Mondo was on part of Hyperspace Gaming. Really quickly, in 30 seconds or less, what do people have to look forward there?
Look forward to our top 10 games of 2015. It was incredible to get together with the guys and kind of get an idea of what everybody played last year and what everybody thought of the big titles. And there were a few surprising titles in there too. So if you're into some gaming talk, man, come check us out and stay tuned every Friday for even more gaming topics.
Absolutely. Don't forget to like our Facebook page, www.facebook.com/SWWastelands. Join our Star Wars group, The Future of Star Wars. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, the Empire Network. I'd like to thank everybody that tuned in last week. We had our highest numbers by a considerable amount. And we're only going to continue to get bigger and better. I want to thank Benjamin Hart, founder of the Star Wars Underworld, for joining us tonight. You can catch him tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern on the Star Wars Underworld right here on Channel 1138, as well as Saturday night at 10 p.m. Eastern on IPC right here on Channel 1138, where they're going to review Firefly. Rogue, buddy, you might want to get on that one. I think that's some of your things there. Tune in next week to Star Wars Wastelands. Who is Snoke? George Lucas to direct Episode 9? Maybe not. Thanks for joining us, guys. May the Force be with you. Fizz, Mondo, thanks for joining.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you guys for listening,
and don't forget, tell that to Conja Club. Good night.